What are your thoughts on alcohol? What sort of relationships do the minimalists have with it? The thing I talk about is my pithy answer to this is like when in doubt, opt out. But that is true for alcohol and it's true for just about anything, right? If it's not a hell yes for me, then it is a no. Alcohol for me is a hell no, but that's because I grew up with two parents who were alcoholics and I had a pretty traumatic childhood around the use of alcohol, and there was physical abuse in the home when I was really young because my dad was getting drunk. Eventually, we had to escape him, and then my mom became an alcoholic after that. So she wasn't even an alcoholic at the time, but when we escaped, she was trying to cope with the pain, the suffering, and it became a pacifier in a way. And I think when I was young, I was a bit of a teetotaler. If you would have made me Earth Czar, I would have, in addition to outlawing advertisements, I would have outlawed alcohol at the time. Now, I'd be a terrible Earth Czar. But my point is that, for me, it was because I had a bad relationship with it, an unpleasant and traumatic relationship with it. I then mapped that on to everyone else. And I see this happening a lot with social media today as well. I think alcohol can ruin someone's life, but it doesn't mean that I think that it ruins everyone's life. I think it's probably a poison. There's probably no healthy dose of alcohol. That's come out pretty. Andrew Huberman's talked about this a lot recently, how there's basically, if you're having more than 2 drinks twice a week, that's a problem. And but any level of alcohol is not helpful for you. We used to think that there's a certain amount of resveratrol in red wine, and that's going to... Not really. The amount of red wine you'd have to drink is going to completely offset the resveratrol that you're getting from it, at least according to Huberman and other medical researchers. But for me, I recognize that there are plenty of people that can have a drink and be totally fine. And for me to impose my self-righteousness, but no, it's bad. No, it's poison. Okay, but why do I care? Do I want the thrill of being right? Do I want the thrill of controlling someone else's behavior? Oh, wow. Okay. Now, I understand, not wanting to be around it. I don't like being around drunk people. I mean, it's just, I'm around them from time to time. I don't like being around people that much, but when people get really drunk, it gets it gets strange for me. But that's my problem. It's not their problem.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing is true with social media. So I was hoping we could talk about that corollary here. I think both of them started out with good intentions. In fact, for the longest time, we drank wine or beer. Humans did, because the water in cities was so disgusting that the only thing you could drink was wine or beer, because otherwise you might get sick and die from the local water supply.
Hello, LA. Hello.
And so there was a reason for that. But it wasn't engineered to be as intoxicating as it is now. And I think you could say the same thing about social media. When it started, it was a community and we're connecting, and that's still very possible. But also it's engineered to be intoxicating, just like alcohol is. Yeah. And so we're drunk on alcohol, we're drunk on social media. It doesn't mean that I renounce either one of them. And I always want to be careful not to. We did a whole episode about renunciation. I don't want to have that spirit of renunciation. Even with alcohol, I don't drink. I won't drink. But I haven't renounced alcohol. I don't say that it's bad for everyone. I know that my habits and my addictive personality with respect to chemicals will totally send me down a rabbit hole. It's not a risk that's worth taking, even if it's a 40% risk, 20% risk.
Now, that's interesting because you describe yourself as having an addictive personality and needing to be careful with alcohol because of that. But you're not like that with food or other things. You're not like that with television, with scrolling. You just seem to be pretty well managed. You don't need to avoid them to any degree because of that addictive personality. Am I right?
I am definitely that way with food.
Yeah.
I have really strict boundaries, though, that prevent me from eating those things. So to me, it's way easier to fast than it is to diet, to limit portion, to control your portion sort of thing.
Yeah.
But if I have a set of food that I can eat, then I will eat that until I'm full. And I eat real food. I mean, it goes back to the food for humans thing. When you're actually eating real food that isn't engineered to be, to make you gluttonous, then you get satiated and then you're done. And when you get hungry. But if I have access, thankfully I can't eat the things. It makes me feel sick. It gives me ulcers if I eat like terrible processed foods. And so I in a way that has helped me set up some boundaries. With social media, I don't have the same addiction, but Sean was talking about something earlier today that made a lot of sense to me. Sometimes with alcohol, it has to do with the time at which you consume it. Imagine if he like drank a bunch before he came into the studio this morning.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that drinking was the bad part for him. It's the context of that. Or if I'm sitting down and having a meal with you and I'm just scrolling TikTok, it's not that the TikTok is evil. It's that, what am I doing? And I get a lot of it's unconscious. It becomes habitual. Scrolling TikTok becomes habitual. We get to our phones and we were going to do something and then we end up on Instagram for 15 minutes.
Or you see people like at a stoplight catching up on a reel.
Yeah.
Like, scary.
I had this happen to me. I was driving down the highway, the 101, back up to Ojai a couple of years ago, and a guy pulls up beside me, and he rolls his window and he's yelling at me, "Is this you? Is this you?" I'm like, keep your eyes on the road. Yes, it's me. Now, don't kill us. And so like, I think that any of these things can get in the way, and they can be addictive. I don't know whether or not it's traditionally addictive by the DMR, DSR, whatever that's called, 5 manual, and I don't know, but I know that people get addicted to it.
Yeah.
I know people get addicted to food. I know people get addicted to pornography. I know people get addicted to social media. I know people get addicted to alcohol, obviously. Many of these things ruin lives. I think if there's anything good about our relationship broadly with alcohol now is we're not celebrating it the way we once did. It still is in certain pockets, but people are drinking less than ever. Now they may be making up for that with, weed or other substances, but like we are drinking less as a culture. It's not celebrated or venerated as much. I think we're starting to see that with social media as well.
Yeah. Funny thing about addiction too is sometimes you don't know you're addicted until you try to stop. My relationship with alcohol is completely free to drink as a matter of principle, very rarely drink as a matter of fact. My wife stopped drinking a few years ago as an act of solidarity for people important to her who can't drink. And the only person that I ever really had a drink with was her, having an occasional glass of wine. I can enjoy a good whiskey, and that's something that I picked up from the years of bartending that I did. But for me, it's just a practical matter of when am I going to drink? If you talk to me about drinking, the thought of it sounds super fun. It just sounds so cool to me. Like the thought of me sitting down, playing some jazz, having a glass of whiskey sounds so cool. But when am I going to drink it? Practically, my life is just not compatible with it. I've got plenty of time to do it. But if I'm going to drink, it has to be the sort of thing where I have to like make it a priority, and I'm going to end up doing it by myself. And that sort of just takes the fun out of it. If you said, let's sit down and have a glass of whiskey and it's evening and I'm at your place, that would probably be the situation in which I do it. But most of my friends don't drink. My wife doesn't do it anymore. And so it would require a level of determination that just isn't even worth it. It's not that fun that I'm going to go get some whiskey, come home tonight and sit in front of my wife who doesn't drink, and she'd be okay with it and just drink in front of her. It's just like, it ain't that fun. I'll have some orange juice. I'll have some soda water. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so like, we often think it would be fun in a vacuum, but then we don't consider the costs. Like, what am I going to feel like tomorrow? Am I going to wake up with a hangover? Am I going to sleep poorly? In fact, it's going to affect my sleep the same way social media affects sleep, right? If you're just in bed scrolling, getting all that blue light right before bed, it's going to affect your sleep. We know alcohol has a tremendous negative effect on sleep. And so does blue light for a lot of people. And so I think that with any of these things, whether it's alcohol or social media, the question is like, is this getting in the way? And in the way of what? Is this the best use of my money is a question we asked earlier, but is this the best use of my time and my attention? And what I've decided for social media when we came back this year, I use it completely differently. We did a whole TEDx talk about this, and hopefully it'll be out soon and we can share that with y'all. It's called Scrolling is the New Smoking. And what we talk about in there is, how do I search for something? How do I seek something out as opposed to just getting lost in that endless scroll of servile entertainment?
Thanks for watching this highlight. If you'd like to check out another one, you can watch this clip here. Or if you'd like to watch the full episode for this highlight clip, you can check out this one here. Or you can dive into the full private podcast by subscribing via the Patreon link in the description for this video. Your Patreon support is what helps keep this podcast 100% advertisement free.